Welcome to the Breaking News Bears podcast. I'm your host, Chris Capone, joined alongside my co-host once again, Evan Davis. And today we're going to discuss the official poll that MLB put out recently around the top five MVP candidates for each of the American League and National League, and discuss our thoughts on each of the candidates so far and what we think the actual MVP for each league will be. We'll be doing the same for the Cy Young, and we'll finish off this episode discussing some other topics around the NL Central. What do the Cardinals do at the trade deadline? The injury to Corbin Burns, and what does this mean for the Arizona Diamondbacks? And along with what's with the direction of the Boston Red Sox currently. But first, Evan, let's just talk about the National League top candidate right now, according to MLB, is Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to dispute Shohei Ohtani just because of the aura that he brings and just how phenomenal he is at the plate. I mean, obviously, he still hasn't started pitching yet, but it's still a guy that is incredible in the leadoff spot, right now. So it's like he has a ton of home runs, hardly any RBIs because all he's hitting are solo home runs. But it feels like whenever you need a big hit, Shohei Ohtani is there. And for a Dodgers team that is struggling with their starting pitching, they need as much offense as they can get.
Yeah, and I mean having him at that leadoff spot is really, since they changed it was since the Mookie Bet injury last season that really, caused Dave Roberts to say, you know what, let's just have Shohei hit leadoff. And it's really changed the whole dynamic of that team, having Shohei hit leadoff, even with Mookie Betts being back. And I mean, 23 home runs on the season, OPS over 1,000. He's just been insane. And like you said, only 39 RBIs with 23 home runs. And that's not normally seen where like that much of a disparity. Like there's not that far of a gap. But it's like you said, because he's hitting solo shots, he's leading off.
Yeah,
And obviously he's not hitting a leadoff home run every game, but it seems like it at this point with how often he's crushing. And
yeah,
then moving over to the American League, the number one is Aaron Judge, and it's always just been like he's always hitting, but this season is just on a whole nother level, hitting 391 so or not 391 so far, but like hitting near 400 for a guy who's mainly power. Like you only really think of Aaron Judge as dealing with just power.
yeah.
Like and hitting almost around 400 and we're already in June is insane. I mean, we were
hmm
talking about like Luis Ariz a couple years ago, like, oh, could he hit 400 where he ended up
hmm
finishing around 330. Now Judge isn't going to hit around 390 the whole season. There will be a dry spell. But the fact that we're, a week into June and
hmm
it's he's still hitting almost 400 is insane.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at some point he's got to die down, right? Like at
Yeah.
some point, eventually he's got to, not hit 397 on the year. But it's crazy because, like as you said, like we always view him as a power hitter, but he's first in the league in hits. He's third still in home runs, and his OPS is above 1,200. First in total bases as well, second in total runs. I mean, I just don't get how you don't give it to anybody else other than Aaron Judge right now. And I mean, especially with the way that things ended for the Yankees last year and then even into the offseason, with Juan Soto leaving, it's like, well, now you can kind of pitch around Aaron Judge again, where before maybe you couldn't because Soto was either hitting in front of him or behind him, like you just couldn't work around him. But it hasn't seemed to affect him at all. And it's just crazy how he's 31 years old, 30 or 31 years old, and it just the power has never died down.
Yeah, I mean, 30 he's 33 actually. Like
Oh
it's
shit, I didn't
yeah,
realize he was
he
that
he
old.
started his career like at 25. Like he had his first like little cup of coffee with the Yankees at 24, and then his first rookie season was 25. So yeah, he's bro's unk status almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you just don't expect someone to like constantly get this much better. Like you never see this, especially in baseball, where the declines come fast and heavy. There's peaks and valleys. But
Yeah.
Judge is always on, except for when it comes to the playoffs. That's
Yeah.
different. But like regular season, these peaks are constantly going to new heights every single year, it seems. Like
hmm
the amount of talent that Judge has, and I'm sounds like I'm glazing him right now, but he's really been this good.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess what we could talk about is another guy who's kind of on a historic pace already, Cal Riley. I
Yeah.
mean,
Big
insane.
dumper.
insane with how he started this season. I mean, you never think of a catcher hitting this many home runs. And, you know, he might set the record where, what, 24 home runs already? What is the actual record for home runs by a
By
catcher?
a catch. Well, right now he's on pace for 63.
Yeah,
And it's just ridiculous. Here, I'll look at most home runs by a catcher in a season.
40,
Is Salvador Perez with 48.
48. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, he's on pace to smash that.
He's halfway there already. Like,
Yeah,
he's
halfway there
not,
already, and we're not even at the All-Star break yet.
yeah, I mean, he has been absolutely crushing balls. And this is after, getting a big extension in the offseason, and people thought, oh man, you pay a catcher that much, and like, yeah, but Big Dumper has just been insane. I mean,
Yeah,
this is out of this world stuff. It is almost unbelievable at this point with how good he has been, and he has really been the heartbeat of the Mariners so far. Like, where would the Mariners be right now if they didn't have Cal Riley in the middle of their lineup solidifying things? I mean, everyone else on their team is so inconsistent offensively. I mean,
yeah.
if you don't have Cal Riley, what do you have? I mean, Jorge Polanco started off the season so hot, and he hasn't hit a home run, I think, in over a month span.
Hmm.
Uh, Everyone else on the team, Julio, we talk about where he's inconsistent at the plate at all times. Uh,
Hmm.
the Mariners would be in absolute shambles without Cal Riley.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it, Cal Riley has 24 home runs. The next best on his team is Polanco and Julio with 10. And look, my only concern for Cal Riley is that he's played in every single game this season. I don't think this is sustainable. Like, there's no way he's playing a full 162 games. That would just be ridiculous. And I know he goes between DH and catching, but eventually he's going to need a couple of days off here. I think it's a little ridiculous. And yeah, to your point, the last home run that Jorge Polanco hit was back on May 12th against the New York Yankees. And that's been his only home run in the last month and a quarter span, whatever, you want to call it. And yeah, I mean, where would this team be without Cal Riley outside of Jorge Polanco's incredible month of April when he hit 379? Since then, he's batting, like 150, which
Yeah.
isn't very good with an OPS at 400. So look, I definitely think Cal Riley is in contention for the AL MVP, but it's just ironic how, the offense is starting to pick things up for the Mariners now, and it's the pitching that's been a little subpar to say the least. Whereas last year it was the pitching was you're getting a Cy
Yeah.
Young performance every night, but
You were
like
losing
God
one
forbid,
nothing.
like God forbid this team scored more than 3 runs in a game.
Yeah. I mean, George Kirby just came back off the IL after missing spring training and everything, and uh, he hasn't looked good so far. An 8.56 ERA in three starts. He just doesn't look the same right now, and obviously coming back from injury, you can't just be thrust into the MLB uh, just starting off after such a long time away from injury. And
Hmm.
then you just look at everyone else on their roster right now. Bryce Miller has really struggled. Logan
Yeah.
Gilbert's still on the IL. It's a lot of question marks other than that. But moving on, we'll go back to the NL side. And, the second place candidate could very well be the first. And we were talking about it before discussing this episode. P. Crow Armstrong has
Hmm.
been taking the league by storm recently, and he's just been insane. I mean, people came into this season thinking, Pico Armstrong has the makings to be uh like a good everyday MLB player. Like maybe there was certainly a lot of potential around just around the glove and how he could do. Like last year, he had an 88 OPS plus. He had a 670 OPS. He wasn't that good offensively. It was more the defense. And then people were thinking about like if he could just be a league average hitter, like
Yeah.
a slightly above league average hitter, he'd be an
Hmm.
all-star. He's doing way more than that already this year.
Yeah, I can't believe it. But like, you look at it with PCA and my only belief is like if he gets to like 40-40, how do you not give him the NL MVP? And yeah, like as a Dodger fan, it's like Ohtani, Ohtani, Ohtani. But like at some point, I kind of want to see like somebody else win the award because at some point it's just going to get a little repetitive with Ohtani and Judge constantly winning it. With P. Crow Armstrong, I mean, not only are you getting a phenomenal bat and a guy that could steal a ton of bases, you're getting arguably the best defender in all of baseball. His outs above average is 11. Like that
Yeah.
is just ridiculous. Like when we talk about Kevin Kiermaier, that's what we're talking about. Like Kevin Kiermaier in his best defensive seasons was anywhere between like 12, 14, somewhere like that. But Kevin Kiermaier was batting like 200. Like you had him more on the field and in the lineup because of his defense. Whereas with Pete Crow Armstrong, you're getting that. Plus the guy that has already hit 16 home runs, plus the guy that's already stolen 21 bases. Now, look, like the one issue with P. Crow Armstrong that I'm sure over time in the course of the season he'll be able to develop is like his chase rate is horrible. Chase percentage is horrible, 44%, which is some of the worst in baseball. He doesn't strike out at a ridiculous clip, 25%, but he doesn't walk a lot as well, which I think, might hinder some voters from voting for him, but I just think you look at it and you look at the Cubs overall, where, I mean, let's not sugarcoat it. Last year was very underwhelming when you signed Craig Counsell to what was then the largest deal for a manager. You steal him from your division rival, and then you're still 500. And they're doing this all with Justin Steele out of the rotation, which is just crazy to think about how like Jameson Taillon has been incredible and all these other guys, but it's PCA in this offense, and we thought the lefty hero was going to be Kyle Tucker. But the
Yeah.
fact that it's somebody else, it's like this is an offense. I think it's the best offense in baseball right now, and I think a lot of it has to do with just how scary P. Crow Armstrong is, then followed by another lefty and Kyle Tucker.
I mean, the stuff that this entire lineup is doing for Chicago right now is like it's unheard of. It's so consistent where everyone in the lineup just seems to be firing on all cylinders. And like we talk about Kyle Tucker, he's also on this list at fifth in MVP polling. I mean, they have so many weapons in their offense right now. One of the other candidates for MVP is another Dodger as well. We have two Cubs and two Dodgers on this and National League MVP poll, and that's Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
And his start to the season has been absolutely incredible. And this is a guy where you had the heroics of the game one in the World Series, hitting the walk off, and the stuff that Freddie's gone through in the past year with his son. Uh, and then to have this amazing start to the season is, it's there's so much going on with Freddie Freeman. He's such a likable guy,
Mhm.
and for someone who's 35, like he's another person where we talk about where he's turning 36 in September, where you think about the peaks and valleys of and like declining with age. Freddie Freeman has looked incredible this season.
Yeah, batting 361, which is just crazy to say. And I, you know, I don't believe it. Like there are times where I don't believe it. Like a thousand OPS, a 613 slug, a 428 on base percentage. And I mean, look, obviously these numbers are going to come down, but you're talking about one of the most consistent hitters I think the game of baseball has ever seen. In his 16 seasons, Freddie Freeman is batting a career 301 with a 388 on base percentage and a 902 OPS over 16 seasons. Like that is just crazy. And you look at his numbers, like his ex-WOBA, ex batting average. Now, look, his ex batting average is very far off from what his actual batting average is, but it's still within the 98th percentile. His X slug at 559, not that far off, but it's just his base running value is in the 98th percentile. You look at it overall with this offense, and again, like this is a team in LA where the pitching has not been helpful, ironically, and it's been the offense. And Freddie Freeman has just been, I just don't know when this is going to die down. Like he might still be hitting the ball until he's 45 years old. It's just crazy how you almost forget how old he is. And then, like, when he takes a day or two off, you're like, wait, what the hell? But then you realize that he's 35 years old, coming off a World Series, still playing on a bum ankle nonetheless. Like, this isn't even a fully healthy Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, I mean. like I said, everything that he's gone through in the last year is it's insane that he's able to keep up this pace at this age without, significant decline. Or not even significant decline, but like gradual decline where you would see him be like, oh, he had an 847 OPS last year, now he's at like an 800 and it just slowly declines year after year, like
Yeah.
40 points down every year until he gets 40 and then he retires like a 700 OPS where it's like, okay, that makes sense. You're 35, turning 36 in September. There's supposed to be a gradual decline. He's at above 1,000 OPS. Like this isn't normal. This isn't something
Yeah.
that should be happening for players. I mean, incredible stuff from Freddie Freeman. And then some of the other candidates over in the AL, I feel like someone who's always going to be in that kind of conversation is Bobby Witt Jr. And he's there again. And I mean, I feel like Bobby Witt Jr. is, like I said, he's going to be one of those guys that for the rest of his career, as long as he's in the AL, as long as he's playing with Kansas City, he's going to be there for some of the top candidates for MVP voting. I mean, he just does everything on the field. He's a great defender, steals bases, hits home
Mhm.
runs, hits doubles, he mashes. He's just always going to be there. And I hope one year he eventually just gets it over with. But as long as
Yeah.
Judge keeps going on this pace, I don't know how anything's going to happen, like how it's going to happen otherwise.
Yeah, I don't know, but my only thing with Bobby Witt, and I think it's just for me, a lot of it also just has to do with like the overall, like he's phenomenal, one of the best defenders, one of the best hitters in baseball, but it's just hard to give him the MVP when like the Tigers are doing so well. Like you got to
Yeah.
get like it's just I feel like in order to win MVP, you got to at least you got to win your division, is my opinion, but. Bobby Witt, I mean, some of the plays that he makes, and I mean, now you look at that contract and what guys are getting now. Like, I'm sure hindsight, Bobby Witt's like, damn, I wish I waited a little bit longer, but like 260 million living in Kansas City, I mean, whatever. Like, you're keeping a lot of that cash. And you look at his numbers, and while they might not be the most eye-popping numbers, like he's still putting up some phenomenal defense as well. Outs above average the same as PCA at 11. This is a guy who is only 24 years old, and it's just crazy like how good he is. And it really didn't take him that long to adjust to the major leagues, which is just so crazy to think about how like he just started becoming an impact player right away.
Yeah, I mean, he's been insanely good for such a while, or for a while now. And like we talk about, or like I said earlier, Judge made his breakout or like had his first cup of coffee with the Yankees at 24 years old. And
Hmm.
then, his first full rookie season was 25. Bobby Witt's at that age already. Like you don't really expect someone like this big of a talent to start that late. Or now with Bobby Witt, someone who, came to MLB rather early in his career,
Hmm.
uh, and like you said, was an impact player right away. We talk
Hmm.
about Bobby Witt, and like you said, you got to win a division at least if you want to win MVP. There's obviously there's outliers when there's people like Shohei on the Angels where
Yeah.
you deserve it no matter what when you're that good. But Bobby Witt Jr., I feel like there's got to be one time when the Royals just win a division and they're like, all right, here, bro, damn, like just take the MVP because it just sucks to see how good he's been, and he'll always end up being his baseball reference page is going to look crazy with the amount of MVP twos and MVP threes on it for the rest of his
Hmm.
career if he just keeps
Yeah.
going at this pace while not winning the division, and obviously other talents in the American League are just that much better, or not that
Yeah.
much better, but they're on winning teams, so it propels them up. And then lastly, what I want to talk about is in the AL right now, one of the other candidates technically for MVP and for Cy Young, Tariq Skubal right
Yeah.
now is, I guess this will segue us to what we're gonna talk about Cy Young. Tariq Skubal has been insane. I mean, I
Yeah.
sent you the stat: 95 strikeouts and 3 walks over his last 11 starts. What is going on here? Like that, we talk about the greatness of Tariq Skubal, it seems like every week on this podcast, but Tariq Skubal has been immensely insane. Like this is unheard of how good he has been, and you know. Like, is the Cy Young already over for him? If he just has a 3 ERA the rest of the year, does he just not just get the Cy Young? Like,
I mean, I don't know, but you look at it, the numbers are, and it feels like he's just making history every time he steps on the mound. Like you talk about the Maddox that he had, the first pitcher ever to have 13 strikeouts in a Maddox, and then you look at the month of June for him. I'm sorry, the month of May for him, which was just insane. I mean, although the ERA was what, a 2.20 ERA, like, oh, boo-hoo. He still had 59 strikeouts to two walks in 41 innings. Like,
Yeah.
and he went five and two-thirds or more in each of his starts. And he had what? One, two, three, four quality starts out of five or six, like incredible. And then against the Chicago Cubs, a team that has been one of the best against lefties, yeah, he gave up 8 hits, but seven and two-thirds innings, only one earned run and six strikeouts. Like, I think you'll take that nonetheless. It was just a lot of singles he was giving up. And you look at it, it's the first he's the first pitcher since Clayton Kershaw in 2016 to reach at least 100 strikeouts before recording 7 walks on the season. It's just insane. And his strikeout to walk ratio was 15.
Yeah.
Like for a starting pitcher. Like I don't think people realize how insane that is for a starting pitcher to have a 15 strikeout to walk ratio.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is the Cy Young already wrapped up at this point? Like, is there anything that Tariq's like if he even like is there anything that can blow him up at this point? Like, is there anything that would ruin his Cy Young
I
chances at this point?
I
I don't
I I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I
I
don't
don't know.
it would have to be an immense fall off, and I just don't see it happening with how good he's been. I mean, there is well, we'll talk about now. Like Garrett Crochet has also been really good for the Minnesota or for the Boston Red Sox.
Hmm.
But when you have someone who like is carrying this Detroit Tigers team, uh, basically to relevance. Like last year when the Gritty Tigs went on their run, it was Tariq Skubal, Jack Flair, or not even Jack Flair because he got traded, but it was Tariq Skubal and a bunch of nobodies starting every other day.
Hmm.
Uh, Tariq Skubal has done immense things for this Detroit Tigers franchise where he's got to get extended, and I don't see a world where Garrett Crochet just leaps him unless there's a supreme fall off this year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if we have to talk about any other AL Cy Young candidates because I mean, who else is beating him? I mean, it's crazy, and you look at it like Tarek Skubal since the beginning of last year has like a 2 ERA. Like we talked about Paul Skeens obviously, and he's been phenomenal. But you look at Tarek Skubal, and it's like it almost feels like he's not getting as much love. And um, I mean, last year he was phenomenal, 18-4 record, and now in 2025 a 6-2 record, 105 strikeouts. He's on pace for 262 strikeouts. He had 228 last year. Look, I don't know if he reaches that number, but it's just it's insane what he's doing. And Crochet has been great for the Red Sox and been the reason why they're actually maybe still afloat. I mean, I don't know, but Skubal since 2024, a 24-6 record, a 2.32 ERA, 333 strikeouts in 275 innings.
Yeah, I mean,
It's it's video game numbers, and in those 275 innings, he only has 42 walks.
like like
What?
this might be, and I feel like I'm saying it like to be a hot take here. This might be one of the best peaks of a pitcher of all time. If he can keep this going, this might be one of the best peaks. Like
Hmm.
I don't think the consistency, the staying in the zone and the strikeout numbers, the throwing 100 miles per hour to end or was it 102 to end the game
Yeah,
against the Guardians?
102. Yeah.
Throwing 102 to end the game of a complete game on a strikeout. Like this is one of the most complete pitchers I think anyone in baseball will ever see for
Hmm.
like an all-time status. Like this is one of the most complete pitchers
Hmm.
any that has ever graced the major leagues if he keeps this up for however long. Like get into the plaque in Cooperstown already with
Yeah.
how insanely consistent he's been.
Crazy.
Uh, I guess what we'll do is move on to the NL Cy Young because, like you said, I don't know if there's many other candidates at this point.
Yeah.
But the number one candidate for me right now, I think in the NL Cy Young, it's got to be Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I think he's got to be up there just in terms of, you know, how good he's been for the Dodgers. I mean, last outing wasn't that good against the New York Yankees.
Hmm.
But other than that, this entire season, a 2.39 ERA, 77 strikeouts in 67 two-thirds innings. I mean, he's just been incredible. I mean, you get to the pleasure of watching him, and you could even go to a start
Yeah.
not too far away from you. But he's been absolutely more than advertised when originally signing that deal from Japan.
Well, yeah. Well, Josh Reddick was like, wow, giving $325 million to a guy that's never pitched in the major leagues before. And I mean, look what it's been like. And yeah, obviously his last start against the Yankees wasn't that great. But look, I think every pitcher is due for a bad game. I don't think it's a bad sign by any stretch of the imagination. But you look at it, and for a Dodgers team that has no starting pitching, which is, I know, crazy to say, but you got to love the team doctors out here in California. But you look at Yamamoto and his starts, like, he's been really, really good. The only problem is like the Dodgers can't score when he's on the mound, but
Yeah,
his strikeout numbers are looking good. The only issue is that he's walking a lot of batters lately. It's he's had the struggle with that, and I think it's more due to the fact that he's a lot of the times, it's like a Blake Snell type where you'd rather walk the guy than give up a hit. And I've seen that more with Yamamoto, where he's still going to attack the zone regardless if he's down in the count 3-2, rather than trying to throw like a fastball over the plate, see what can happen with it. But that's just the one thing. But like the splitter at times has been phenomenal. Like that pitch is just disgusting because it
yeah.
looks like a strike until
It
the
just
very
dips.
last second. And yeah, until it just dips and then it's not a strike. So yeah, I definitely think I don't know if he's the runaway favorite with it or even a favorite for it, but like he's got to be at least within consideration.
Yeah, and I think, funny enough, one of the other, potential candidates right now is someone who's won the Cy Young before and kind of has fallen off since then due to injury. Robbie Ray has been really good this year for the San Francisco Giants, and I don't
Hmm.
think many people thought that, he would kind of, come back and see what he would do. I mean, since signing with Seattle, he had that one full season, and then he pitched one game in 2023 and 7 games last year for the Giants.
Hmm.
And, I don't know if anyone really thought Robbie Ray was going to do much
Hmm.
since leaving Toronto and winning the Cy Young. But he's looked incredible to start this season. I mean, lefty, 87 strikeouts in 77 innings, 8-1 record. I know pitcher wins don't really matter as much anymore as they used to, but 8-1 record, leading the majors in wins. He's just been insanely good for a San Francisco Giant team that's really surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think I saw a stat that the Giants are 11-2 in the game started by Robbie Ray. And, we looked at that trade and that signing. It's like, geez, Louise, because, he'd been a mess, but now he's looking like, the Cy Young Award winning Robbie Ray, as you alluded to. And, you look at his expected ERA, it's not that far off from his actual ERA. And, obviously the fastball velo isn't going to be, anything crazy. And, the walk rate's a little bit high for maybe what a pitcher would like to have. It's at 10%, but kind of expected maybe for lefties. It's a little bit harder to get guys out. But, you're looking at him, he's 8-1 in 13 games, 87 strikeouts and 77 in a third innings pitch with a whip just above one. It's kind of hard not to consider Robbie Ray, especially as you had mentioned, like for a Giants team that maybe we didn't have a ton of expectations for, but they've still been able to be steadily afloat. And Robbie Ray looked really phenomenal in his last start against the San Diego Padres as well, shutting down an offense that has been relatively high powered. And just kudos to him overall because I was never rooting against him, but I was more just like, damn, like all these injuries, like you want to see him pitch.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really a shame because the only memory that Mariner fans are going to have of Robbie Ray is him giving up that absolute meatball to Yordan Alvarez uh, to walk off, what was it, game one or two of the ALDS against the Astros. I mean,
Something like, yeah,
it's it's sad because he was, supposed to be their like one of their biggest free agent signings of all time, and he just wasn't able to stay healthy. And they traded him for who? Mitch Haniger they traded back
Something,
for,
yeah, Mitch
and
Haniger, yeah.
and it looked like, oh well, that's kind of like a nothing burger move. But now that's an insanely great deal for the San Francisco Giants, where they got, they have to eat the contract of him for another year after this. But you're not eating the contract when he's pitching this good. I
Yeah.
mean, he's been more than advertised. He's basically been returning to Cy Young form, and yeah, it's nice to see because after leaving Toronto and then having that, not that great of a season in Seattle the next year, 370, all right. It's nice to see Robbie Ray really, getting back to speed and to form. Um, but
Hmm.
yeah, moving on, what we could talk about is kind of the NL Central. I mean, we've already talked about the Cubs and their high-powered offense, but the rival, the St. Louis Cardinals, have also, been really surprising this year. You lose Paul Goldschmidt, and there was an array of Nolan Arenado trade rumors going into the offseason and ever since, and even at the deadline, and there was a deal that there was in place with the Astros. I mean, what do the Cardinals do at this upcoming trade deadline?
I don't know. They're in such a difficult spot, in my opinion, because it's like you're in a it's just the National League. Like if they were in the American League, I'd say you'd be buyers because the American League is so wide open. But with the National League and the Cubs in your own division, you know, how much belief do you have in this team? I think is what management really has to think about. And this has also been ownership and management that has been reluctant to spend money. So I don't know what they do. They don't have like an incredibly great farm system. Like they have some guys here and there, as does every team for the most part. But I look at the St. Louis Cardinals and I think to myself, like, I feel like you kind of have to be sellers because I like if you're buyers, to what extent are you buyers? Like you're in this really tough spot here where, what do you do really? Like I personally I'm kind of still questioning like where does this team go? Because, you look at it just from, a top 100 prospects perspective, they only have two prospects within MLB.com's top 100, and that was their first round pick from last year, JJ Weatherholt, the shortstop, and then Quinn Matthews, the lefty that they drafted 2 years ago. So you don't have a ton of strong farm, you don't have a lot of talent in that farm system, and I'm just thinking, are you better than the Cubs realistically? Are you better than the Padres? Are you better than the Dodgers? Are you better than the Phillies? Are you better than the Mets? Like, if you don't think you're better than at least six teams in the National League, I think it's worth selling because there's going to be other teams that are going to give up prospects for Nolan Arenado and for Ryan Helsley, and maybe to a certain extent Sonny Gray, if you're looking at that as well. But I just think it's a team that they're in a stalemate right now, but if you look at the board and say we're not better than at least six of these other teams when fully healthy, I think you got to consider trading.
I mean, they have a lot of different assets on their team. Even someone like Phil Maton, another guy who, signed with the Cardinals after having a bad postseason with the Mets and wasn't really given any offers. Phil Maton's another guy where people could look at him at the deadline and,
Hmm.
see him as potentially we could use him. Um, and you look at their offense, they have their number one guy with home runs is Lars Nootbaar with 8. Like they don't really have any mashers. Anyone that's really gonna, Jordan Walker is someone that's really fallen off, and I feel bad for the guy. He was up there in terms of prospects, right? I swear he was like, where was he?
Yeah.
He was the number 4 prospect in 2023, and
Hmm.
he's just a quadruple A player. I mean,
Yeah.
since being called up. For his career, negative 1.6 WAR. He just hasn't looked good. I mean, it just sucks to see someone with that much talent, someone who is a top 4 prospect in baseball, really struggling. Um,
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, look, I think the Cardinals could be a sneaky team come playoff time, but why take your chances? Like, that's just my only thing because if you look at it, what they'll probably be within like that third wild card spot, like second or third wild card spot. They've been really hot right now, but again, it's only June. Like, I'm not really ready to dictate what a team is going to look like, by the trade deadline in the middle of July or
Yeah.
at the end of July, I mean. So I just think it's hard. And again, like you obviously know in baseball, it's the one sport where it's like as long as you make the playoffs, you have a chance. And that's true, but do you trust this offense to carry you in October? Because if you just only make it to the wild card, then like BFD, like who cares? Like at that point, you should have just been. I would just say like, well, why didn't you just trade everyone? Because who
Yeah.
cares if all you do is a wild card game? It's you got one or two extra games. Like congrats.
Yeah, not even at home. You don't even get like any.
Yeah,
It's kind of a useless point to it's a moot point to really make those games when you really don't see yourself as winning.
yeah.
There's some teams that make the wild card and you can see them going far where it's like they had a couple lulls in the season but they ended the season hot. The Cardinals don't look like one of those teams right now where they could go into the
Hmm.
postseason and anyone could really be like, oh, they could really shock some people. Maybe they win the wild card series, but does anyone really take this team over the Mets, Phillies, Dodgers right now if they were to meet them in the NLDS? I mean, let's be for real right now. Would they even beat the
Yeah.
Cubs in a series? Just be for real with yourself and really like come on. There's no way the Cardinals would do anything come postseason time.
Hmm.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on. One of the teams that, made some good offseason moves, and now one of those moves is on the IL and gone for the year. Corbin Burns, injured for the Arizona Diamondbacks, really opens up some question marks for them. What do they do moving forward,
Hmm.
going into the season where, Zach Gallen's gonna hasn't been that good this year? Do you try and get some prospects for him? What do the Diamondbacks do going forward?
I think you got to trade. I mean, you look at this Diamondbacks team. Yeah, they're 4 games out of the third wild card spot. They're 31 and 31, a little 4 game winning streak. They had the most insane win I've ever seen and the most disappointing loss I've ever seen in that Atlanta Braves game, scoring 7 runs in the top of the ninth inning. But I mean, Corbin Burns was really the only reason this team was 500 because Eduardo Rodriguez has been terrible. Jordan Montgomery has been terrible. Zach Gallen has been terrible. Gallen's having one of the worst years of his career, a 21.9% strikeout rate and a 10% walk rate. Like for a right-handed pitcher, that's not really good. And Gatlin, what, a 5.13 ERA, a 1.33 whip. Merrill Kelly, I love him, but like it's only a matter of time before he cramps up again. And I'm not trying to like poke fun at him, but like that's just the reality of the situation. He can never go deep into a game or a season because he's always cramping. And the Diamondbacks is just so interesting because their offense is just so prolific where you don't want to give up on this team, but you, you're going to have to bring in and trade so many players to make this starting rotation actually feasible because how many times have we seen the Diamondbacks get into this 11-10 game? Like it's too many times. I mean, they gave up 14 runs in one game to the Colorado Rockies. It's just
Yeah.
this pitching staff has just been a mess, and it's not just one pitcher. And Ryan Nelson has been nice. He's getting kind of lucky. Brandon Pfaadt weirdly had the most wins before Robbie Ray by a starting pitcher with 7, but he has like one of the worst ERAs in baseball for a starting pitcher. So look, I don't know what they do here. I think you got to start selling off. And I mean, if I'm the Diamondbacks, like, where are you going? Like, that's just the one thing because I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. But do you trade Eugenio Suarez? Like, if
I
I'm
think
the
you got
Detroit,
to. He's
I
only
like,
he's a free agent after this year. I think you got to trade him at this point.
yeah. And like, if I'm the Detroit Tigers, like, knock, knock, we need a third baseman that can mash. Like, why not call up the Diamondbacks for that? Like, I just think you got to entertain some offers here because, especially now with Corbin Burns out, he was kind of like your last hope. And the whole reason that he even had that injury is because they had to push him up a day because Eduardo Rodriguez was struggling. They wanted to give Erod another day off. So you give Corbin Burns on 4 days rest. And he immediately says, yeah, my elbow, it's cooked.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so sad because they had the World Series run in 2023, and since then it's just kind of been they choked away the wild card spot last year, and this year obviously you make the big acquisition of signing Corbin Burns, and you're expecting like okay we can make it back to the postseason, and then you're in the division from hell. You're in the division from hell where you don't have a
Hmm.
chance to. I mean, you had the great comeback on Friday, or was it Friday or Thursday against the Braves where you came back.
Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday you were down 6 runs entering the inning, you win the game. And I don't know how many more times the Diamondbacks can really do this. I mean, it's just it's hard to watch right now where this is such a good team on paper where you look at the players in their lineup. Josh Naylor has been a really good acquisition for them. Everyone in their lineup is, producing. It's just they're in the division from hell pretty much. And the pitching staff hasn't been good at all. I think there's been a lot of question marks around the pitching staff and one of the big parts of that was, oh, Corbin Burns is healthy though. We'll have our ace, and Merrill Kelly's been good, but everyone else other than that has been struggling heavily. It's just
Hmm.
they gotta make some deals. They gotta start trading away some of these pieces and kind of retool and go for it next year, I think, 'cause I don't know what else they can really do at this point.
Yeah, no, exactly. They're in a tough spot.
Yeah. But anyways, that'll just about do it for this episode of the Breaking News Bears podcast. I once again want to thank my co-host Evan Davis, and once again want to thank you guys, the listeners, for listening to another episode of Breaking News Bears.